Welcome to the Grateful Tap podcast, where we are exploring healing, inspiration, and rock and roll with your hosts, Deanna Lyons and yours truly, Steph Dodds. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Welcome to the party.
Hi there, and welcome to our episode today. I'm so excited to have my friend and someone I look up to with us on today, Brinn Langdale. Thank you so much for being here today, Brinn. I'm not only a personal fan of yours, I just love you.
Aww. Thanks, Steph.
Yeah.
I love you too.
We were just catching up before we press record on this episode, and you're someone that I really appreciate staying connected with, and I feel like we have this relationship that we're really like rooting for each other authentically.
Yeah.
And that's
Definitely.
so special to have. So thank you.
Yeah.
Like you sharing with me. I know I want you to like talk about what you do and who you are, and I think we met I think you read my chart and we're in the same yoga community or like Sacramento community.
Man, that was like a lifetime ago. That was like multiple lifetimes ago, I feel like.
Multiple lifetimes ago.
Yes. In the Rose Garden. Yeah. That was so long ago. Probably like 10 years ago, maybe even.
Maybe.
Yeah, because it was pretty close to when I was like starting to study astrology, and I've been studying it for about 10 years now. And I think I was just kind of learning, and you were one of my first people to like do that with. And so yeah,
Yes.
8 or 9 at least.
And I feel too on a personal level, anytime you look at my chart, I feel so seen by you.
Oh, yeah, that's why I love reading people's charts. That's why I love it. I love reading people's charts because they feel so seen. And one of the best feelings in the world is to feel seen by somebody. And I know I crave that. And I love doing that for other people. I love seeing them in that way. And it's just a really intimate, personal way to get to know somebody. So thank you for trusting me with that.
Yeah, so we've kind of worked together a little bit, but like I'll let you share like exactly what you're up to these days, but it's been a joy. You took EFT level 1 and 2 and are familiar with tapping. This is the Grateful Tap podcast, but we talk about way more than that. But do you just want to share a little bit about like how you use tapping in your life or your practice as a therapist?
Yeah, absolutely. So you just reminded me, I think what really got us to start hanging out more, and even before I read your show, I think it was you doing a tapping circle.
Yes.
And you did a tapping circle, and it was a group tapping. I think it was at Yoga Shala Arden. And I just fell in love with it. I don't know. I showed up. I don't really know why. I do that a lot. I just go to workshops. I'm like, I don't really know what this is, but I'm going to try it out. And I saw instant results. I saw people in the circle having results. I myself felt results. And then I heard you talk about your own results. And I was just like, what is this tapping thing? And really fell in love with it. And I think we just started connecting more and more. And then eventually I did sessions with you. And I swear to this day, I have been on a healing journey for 15 years. I experienced a lot of childhood trauma, and in my early 20s, all of that really came to the surface, and my life was a hot mess. I was a hot mess, and spent majority of my 20s just deep in my healing work. And when I really started using tapping, I had already done a lot of other things like regular therapy, talk therapy, energy work, yoga, meditation. But when I did tapping, I swear, I have had some of the biggest breakthroughs in my life from sessions with you. And I don't say that lightly. And so for me, tapping has been an incredible healing tool. And so when I went through the level 1 and level 2 EFT tapping training that you host, I did it and immediately turned around and started using it with my therapy clients because I knew firsthand how powerful it could be. And my clients use it and my clients love it and they have seen some really amazing results because of the tapping also. And so nowadays it's something that I use as a coping skill, a coping tool. If I'm stressed out, I start like tapping on my chest. If I have like major big emotions, I'll like use more of the tapping on my whole body. But yeah, it's something that I'm really grateful that I have in my back pocket and I can pull it out at any time for me or for somebody else who's feeling a lot of emotions.
That's when I knew you were going to be a sensational EFT practitioner. I mean, you are an amazing therapist, but I knew you'd be like grab onto tapping because you used it the very next day. Because it's like we
Yes.
have these tools, but like, do we use them? Are we trying them?
Yeah, I did. I went the very next day I started using it with my clients. And from then on, it's a go-to tool.
Mhm. Yeah, I did the same thing because I started with nutrition and I had a nutrition client like the next morning after EFT level 1, I think. And we tapped on, what was up for her that why she wanted to overeat or crave ice cream or whatever it was. And I just started literally the next morning. And I think that is the key to when you're really practicing, you're in it, you're participating in the tool to see. We don't know if it's going to work, but we don't know
Yeah,
if anything's going to work.
right. And I've talked to people, they're like, "Oh, I've tried tapping, da da da,"
Yes.
and it doesn't quite work for them. And then I've also talked to people where I'm like, "Well, how are you doing it?"
Hmm.
you know? And there are people who aren't necessarily doing it the way that you do it or the way that you've taught me how to do it. And I'm like, yeah, you got to know
Hmm.
how it works and a little bit more about it. I think some people may maybe they see a video or something and they just try a little bit of tapping but aren't getting the full benefits
Hmm.
the way that you and I know them.
Hmm.
So if you're listening and you haven't quite tried it or you haven't quite figured out the benefits yet, I highly
Yeah.
suggest booking a session because it's totally different when you have an experienced practitioner working with you.
It really is. And I've heard that a lot too. I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think we've talked about that yet on the podcast. Is like there is kind of a little like some dirty laundry in the tapping community. And a lot of people I've heard say, like, oh, I tried that and it was weird, or the practitioner was weird and she like forcing it on me, or there's just kind of there can be, I think, in any healing space, some not dark energy, if that I don't know if that's the right way to put
Or
it,
maybe
but
just misunderstood.
misunderstood. Yeah, and like when I first was gonna go to Esalen, I don't know if you've been there. Have you been to
I
Esalen?
have never been there. No.
Okay, well we gotta go. But
Yeah.
when I was first going, I was so excited, and then someone said, "Yeah, but that's kind of a hard place to be because everybody brings all their stuff with them. They bring all their healing stuff with them, and that can be heavy, And but so I think that is something to be aware of in any healing space. The people are
Yeah.
going to be bringing their crap, and it's going to look a lot of different ways, But that doesn't necessarily mean that the tool isn't amazing or Eslen's not amazing. It's amazing, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to pull a card?
Yeah. Let's do
Okay.
that.
Okay. So, I don't know if you have any daily practices. This is what Deanna and I nerd out on is we pull a card every day, and we've been doing that for multiple years where we
Mm.
literally text each other a picture of a card in the morning. So today we have Wisdom of the Oracle card. Now pull a card here. And so Wisdom of the Oracle. Is there a good message for Brinn and I, for our listeners today? I usually shuffle twice. Oh, okay. This card
A
is
little blurry.
it's a little blurry there.
Oh, truth be told.
Truth be told. Truth be told with the owl. And it's a little owl. And he's holding up a little like window. And it looks like he's sitting on somebody's mind or head.
Oh, yeah, I see that down there.
Yeah. So what's your first? What do you get from this year?
Well, I thought the window was a book.
Oh.
But now that I see it's a window, but I was thinking the book because I have a book coming out next month
Mhm.
and it's all about me telling my truth.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh, is that what that is?
I
So
thought the same thing. So
did you?
usually with our podcast guests, everybody gets something different. But I saw that I was like, oh, that's Brynn's book. Because writing a book, there's so much. I mean, what do I want to say about that? There's so much in the world right now. I feel like we don't even have space for anything that's not truth telling, first of
Yeah.
all. And to share your story authentically in your book to help others. Um, yeah, sharing your truth.
Sharing my truth. Yeah, it's there.
So why don't you tell our listeners what's your book about?
Yeah, so my book is called Everything Makes Perfect Sense: A Journey Through Sibling Sexual Abuse, Healing, and Forgiveness. So, some of the trauma that I experienced growing up was sibling sexual abuse, and it happened throughout my entire childhood. And then I spent my entire 20s kind of healing, and then I forgave my brother by my 30th birthday. And that was kind of my goal. I spent my entire 29th year working towards forgiveness and really like letting it go and moving forward and really putting it behind me. And this book is that journey, that memoir, from the time I'm about 14 all the way until my 30th birthday. And it's really a truth-telling story of what life is like kind of on the inside when we show the world that, you know, we're fine, or that we, you know, I was an athlete, I got decent grades, I had a lot of friends, I had romantic relationship, I was doing the things. Everything looked good on the outside, but on the inside, I was crumbling. And I think there's so much of that in our world and our culture, especially amongst our young people these days, is how does everything look on the outside and like what's really going on the inside. And a lot of us, so many of us, carry childhood trauma that is not brought up or discussed, especially when it comes to sibling sexual abuse, because it is the number one form of abuse within a family.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't know that. I would say the average person doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That siblings, regardless of sexual, emotional, or physical violence, siblings are the number one perpetrator inside of a family when it comes to abuse.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. And it's because of access. It's because they're always around. And a lot of times, you know, like parents will leave and the sibling will be put in charge. Or we often think that it's a stranger outside of the house or a close family member or a parent, but really your siblings are around you most often. And a lot of times it gets written off, whether it's physical abuse or anything else. gets written off as like, oh, rivalry or things like that. But it can cause a lot of trauma. And also it happens over a long duration.
Mm.
If it's somebody outside the house, they only have access for so long. But if you're inside the house, that access can go on for a long time. So that's when years and years and years and years of abuse happens, like what I experienced. And that creates things like, chronic PTSD, which is being more and more discussed of those long-term implications. So yeah, I'm just really trying to bring education and awareness. This is being discussed more and more. And there's even some TV shows touching on it these days. There's one in the UK. We just had that White Lotus episode about this relationship between the brothers that kind of felt sticky and nobody quite knew what was going on there. And then there's a lot more of survivors coming forward too. So I'm actually joining a handful of other survivors who have written their memoirs on the topic.
Wow. And how did you, before we were on this call, you were saying that you wrote about tapping in your book. Like, how
Yes.
could someone who has experienced, in your opinion, any kind of, any
Yeah.
abuse,
Any childhood trauma. Absolutely.
any childhood trauma, use these tools to help them? And we talked about forgiveness too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for me, a lot of times people are like, oh, I need to process my trauma. I need to process my trauma. Okay, well, what does that look like? What does that actually mean to process your trauma? A lot of people think like, oh, let me just talk about it. Well, talking about it only does so much, and it actually can have some negative implications too. And so when you think about processing something, you want to actually move through it and get to resolution on the other side for yourself. And so the way that we can do that with tapping is that tapping actually helps release these emotions that you're holding on to. It helps release, oftentimes they say trauma is stored in the body. And I really think about it also as like our nervous system is really what's getting triggered. So if your nervous system feels dysregulated, that means you're in flight, fight, freeze, fawn, right? You have these responses. You're in a stress response when you think about that thing. Mm-hmm. So if I, for example, thought of my brother, I would get so agitated. I would get angry. I would get anxious. I would get depressed. I had all of these feelings come up. So me talking about my brother wasn't actually healing for me because it was just stirring up. I was having cortisol being like going through my body. I was having all of this stress response, trauma response from my nervous system. So when we do tapping, it's like I could talk about it or I could share a memory. And when we tapped on it, that would help my nervous system regulate. It was releasing because the tapping releases those emotions out of the body, out of the nervous system, out of the mind. And so you're able to actually get through the emotions to the other side where now I could think about my brother and, oh, I'm not getting triggered. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting upset. I'm not feeling anxious. I'm not feeling angry towards him. And a lot of people have a hard time. You brought up the word forgiveness. Mm-hmm. So to me, forgiveness is all about releasing and letting go of the resentment and the anger that you carry towards a person or a situation. It is entirely 100% for the person who has been harmed. Forgiveness is not something you grant to somebody else. It is something that you do for yourself as a way to let go and release. So if I'm going to sit here and talk about my brother and I haven't fully processed that, if I haven't done any EFT or EMDR or other ways of processing the body, I'm just going to stay stuck in that anger and resentment and anxiety over and over and over and over again. And then what am I going to do? I'm not going to want to forgive. I'm not going to want to do anything. I'm not going to want to let go of that because I feel like it's justice. I am justified in feeling angry. I am justified in not talking to him ever again. I'm justified in hating him. But if I release this emotional charge, and now all of a sudden, I can think about my brother and I don't feel angry. I don't feel anxious. I don't feel anything towards him negatively at all. Well, then my mind can start to be like, well, okay, I just released all of this. It's not bothering anymore. So why not work on that forgiveness piece? Right? So then I kind of hit this point where I actually started having some compassion towards this guy because he was also a kid and he was also abused. We had other types of abuse in our family also, and he was also abused. He was a kid who was abused, and I watched it happen. And he also has suffered a lot in this lifetime. He's been a drug addict for a very, very long time, starting in childhood. That's not somebody who's happy. That's somebody who's suffering a lot. And I fully believe that my brother has suffered more in this lifetime than I ever have and I ever will. Granted, that's not everybody's situation. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can say that about the person who abused them. You know, my brother did not go on to abuse other people. So that's not something that is in the cards. You know, I know a lot of people who there's multiple offenses. That is not my case. So for me, I hit this point where I was holding on to all this anger and resentment, and it wasn't serving me. It was only hurting me. It was hurting my relationships. It was hurting my family. I didn't feel like I could really genuinely move forward. I felt like I had this whole other life in front of me, but I didn't know how to get there. And so when I went on the forgiveness mission that I went on, it was really about how can I let this go for me? And tapping over the years has been a really great way for me to do that and has helped me process some of those memories that I don't even have. Like Steph, you and I have processed memories that I literally do not remember. We have just made up a story that I knew sort of somewhat had happened. And then we tapped on that. And that was extremely healing. Mm-hmm. So you don't even have to fully remember the memory in order to let this stuff go. And tapping is a really amazing way to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like we're working on the essence of what any kind of stuck energy that's there. And I've heard you just explain it the way I've heard multiple people explain it, where because we store our trauma in our procedural memories. So even though something happened a long time ago, in a very real way, it's always happening in the field and in our body and in our system. So when you talk and tap, you're a therapist, so you know that therapy is great, but sometimes it's not enough to get it out of the physical body. So we talk and tap, sending a message to the amygdala. The bad thing already happened a long time ago, and now I'm okay. Instead of it's all happening all the time. So that's what's so powerful. It's like, oh, I can relax now because it's already done. I'm okay now. And because how could someone forgive if it's happening all the time?
Right.
So when you have enough space, I really think it's all about space. You're creating more space to let things go, to let things in, to allowing. So I just really applaud you for really being brave enough to go there. I try to create as a practitioner a safe space so these things can come up and out of the system and they can be then they have no power over you. Inside there's so much power.
Oh my gosh. I did not, he held power over me until the moment I forgave him when I was 29. He could say something. I could hear his name be said by somebody else, and I would be on an emotional roller coaster that felt out of my control. You know, like he could do something, he could not do something, he could even be in my head. There were all of these ways that he was still controlling me, which means in a way he was still abusing me. But he actually wasn't. It was me abusing me. And that's what I was done with.
That is profound. That thing you said just now. How can that be what our next books are about?
Yes.
That I have a couple friends going through that right now too. It's like it's the thing, it's not even the thing that's happening.
Right.
It's our reaction to the thing that's happening that I'm just gonna like suffer myself into oblivion about it.
Yes.
Not to minimize what the
Yeah.
tragedy, the trauma, the whatever, but it's the continuous. I mean, in yoga we call it the monkey mind. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And also, like, just because that issue in my life is resolved. I mean, I have conversations with him. I see him in person. I've hugged him. Like, no problem. That issue for me is resolved. There are other things in my life that still get me. There's still other things so I'm not like this perfect entity that's like, oh, that monkey mind doesn't happen to me anymore. Like it was literally happening yesterday. And then I use my tools because I know that my body is predispositioned to go into those fight, flight, or freeze modes. I have to use my tools. It's not like an option for me. It's like, no, your body, the way you've been conditioned, everything that has happened to you, it makes absolute perfect sense that you're experiencing this. Now, what are you going to do about it?
That's what I love about tapping too, with that like perfect sense of like, of course that anger is going to be there. Let's honor that anger. Of course that resentment's going to be there. Let's pay homage to it.
Yeah. And that's why I named it the title of my book. My book is Everything Makes Perfect Sense. Is because through my healing journey, I realized that all of the ways I had acted out, all the ways that I had self-loathed, all the ways that I had tried to control, all the anxiety, all the mishaps that happen in relationships, it all made absolute perfect sense. And ask any practitioner of anything, that's the mantra. And it just helps you feel so much more validated when we look at it that way. And then the question is, well, now what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Oh, my brain and my amygdala are working properly. That's why I had that response.
Right, exactly. Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And now what do you do with it? Yeah. Honor it and move through it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do I move through it so I can come back to center? So I can come back to me. So I can have my prefrontal cortex turn back on. How can I bring my nervous system down? How can I bring the cortisol levels down? How can I be in control of this entity? The thoughts, the emotions, the chemicals, the hormones. What can I do in my power to bring all of that back into alignment as best as I can? And tapping is by far one of my favorite ways to do that.
Yay. Well, I'm so glad you have it works for you and it works for me, or else I wouldn't be here too.
Yeah.
And I just yeah, applaud you on your truth telling
Mm-hmm.
because that's the first part of it. It's like honoring like how do I really feel?
Yeah,
Oh, like that's like the first step. And I
totally.
wrote about that in my book of like what like when I don't even know how I feel. I do this tool I learned in a Reiki training, I think also at the Yogashala Arden. A magical place where magical things happen. But it's putting your non-dominant hand on your solar plexus right here and saying, what am I feeling that I'm trying not to feel?
Ooh,
What am I feeling that I'm trying
I
not to
like that.
feel?
I'm gonna have to use that.
Oh my gosh. I use it all the time. I have my clients use it all the time. It's pure gold. What is there that like that truth telling with yourself, with your body.
What is there that I'm trying not to feel?
What am I feeling that I'm trying not to feel?
Oh, what am I feeling that I'm trying not to feel?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you just said body, another way to do it, which I love using too. What is my body telling me that I'm ignoring?
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but a lot of my clients are like, "Shut up, buddy. I don't have time
Yeah.
for this.
I don't want to know it. I don't want to do it.
I don't have time to deal with this right now. I gotta go to
Yep.
work or whatever." So those couple tools. Well, Bryn, your book's coming out, so I'll put all the links below. But how can people find you that would want support or people who know there's probably some nuggets in your book that they need?
Absolutely. My website is my first and last name, so brinnlangdale.com. And from there, you can find links for therapy. I also do speaking and workshop programs for different organizations, schools, universities, teams, things like that. And yeah, you can join my email list for more information and find all sorts of stuff at brinnlangdale.com.
Yay! Awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much. I look up to you and
Oh,
your
Steph.
bravery and your um I don't know. You're an easy person to talk to confide in, to have on the squad.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I feel like I used to look up to you, not that I don't anymore, but like
I used to
I used to feel the same way. No, but it used to be this like you were like up there and you were this like wise creature over there and I couldn't get to you because you were over there. And I feel like over the years we've just kind of gotten closer and closer and closer and closer. And now it feels like we're on the same page, you know, like you're no longer this like ethereal being that like is way over there. Now we're like, oh no, girl, we're real. We're
Oh,
real.
I'm
We're both
still a
real.
magical being. No.
Right. But you know what I mean? Like it felt like you were out of reach.
Oh.
Because I put you up on like maybe a pedestal is like the way to think about it. And because you know, I looked up to you in that way of like, oh, you're on a pedestal. You got your shit together. You know what you're doing. You do all this healing work. And I feel like over the years we've both felt that way about each other.
We have.
I know that you felt that way too.
Because I was like, gosh, because I don't have my marriage family therapist license, but in a very real way, I do therapy. I do deep spiritual soul work with people in a therapeutic way, but I'm not really allowed to say that
Yeah.
or you know. So I was gonna get my yeah, get my master's and my license. And I talked to Brinn about it many times. So I was looking up to
And what
where
did I
you
say about
are.
it?
Like, I want to be where you are. And I will
Right.
never forget. You're like, no, Steph, I want to be where
Nope.
you are. Like, what?
Exactly. Yeah, we both just want to be where each other are. and then realizing that like, oh wait, where we are is actually okay.
And perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, you did. You actually helped me a lot because I was like, oh, I'm already doing I'm already doing it.
Yeah, almost anybody who talks to me about becoming a therapist,
Mm.
I don't necessarily advise it unless very like specific situations. And
Mm.
for someone like you, like absolutely not. No.
I really appreciate that because I am actually doing what I love. Like this work, this EFT work to me is so fulfilling. I feel
Mhm.
so lucky that I get to literally see someone's soul light up and help navigate these waters. I'm not scared of the dark anymore. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll go in there with you and like help pull you out. You know, like I'm not afraid of any emotion, which
Yeah.
before if the wind blew the wrong way, I could like start crying. So it's very, very, this is it. This is it for me. It never gets old. Um,
Yeah.
it's incredibly rewarding. Helped me write my book. You know, and now that's what I want to do is help people write their books with EFT because I believe in it so much. So I appreciate you writing your book too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. It's been a 5.5 year journey. And it's coming to a close, and then that will start a whole new journey.
Oh yeah, girl. Let's just get started.
Yeah. But thank you so much for having me and getting this information out there into the world and yeah, spreading the love around EFT. It's great.
All right. Peace and love, sister. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Deanna and I are teaching EFT level 1 and 2 in November. So we hope you come join us, spend the weekend with us.
We'd love to see you there.